Oh, we are live.
Live.
We live. Good evening, good evening, good evening to everybody out there. Welcome to the game plan. Welcome to the game plan. Back with another show. Had to give it to you guys per usual. So I'm gonna just get right into it. Tell you guys a little bit about the game plan. The game plan is to hear perspectives from the minds of professionals and uncover their objectives and motives. Sharing knowledge amongst each other can further develop our mindset as well as success. What has been put down must be picked up. Inspiring and uplifting is the goal, and that's exactly what we came to do. So
Yeah.
today we have a couple of special guests coming onto the show. Very interesting guests, very unique conversation. You should definitely tune in. It's gonna be a great conversation among a lot of great individuals. So we'll get right into it. I'll let Quez take over after this, and we'll take it from there. Let's get it, Quez.
Let's get it rolling, man. It's gonna be an empowering conversation because we got a lot of different avenues that we're gonna attack this conversation from. And when we talk about, like, for one, I just want to kind of give recognition that this is the Life with Shenita talk show, right? And with the game plan being on Life Shenita talk show, Dr. C has allowed us to allow this space to speak about some great things. And today we're gonna speak about some things that's going on in the world. And the world right now, we kind of going through a lot of turmoil right now. And with me in the industry that I'm in, I oftentimes say that we are basically in the midst of a storm, or a storm is coming. Now you're probably saying, okay, look, Jacques, we don't want to hear all this fear porn. You just want to promote fear and promote all these bad things, but it's not about promoting fear. It's about promoting reality, right? And we're gonna talk about what's really going on. So we think about what's going on in the world, and us as men, it's gonna be a straight shooter conversation today. We're gonna have men on this conversation, and I don't know, no offense to the women out there, but the men, we like to get down to the solution. It's just like when you in business, we talk about you talking business, right, Lynn, right, Brandon? When we talking business, it's not just about this the problem or this going on. No, what you gonna do to solve the problem? And today we're gonna talk about the bottom line. How we gonna get to the bottom line? I'm excited. I'm ready. Fired up, locked and loaded. But Brandon, let's introduce who we got with us today.
Okay, so yeah, we mentioned we promised we had some very special guests joining us. First off, we have Mr. Burrell Billingsley, who is he's working with the Metropolitan CME Church in Houston, and he also works with the NAACP in Houston to help with the registration of voting. And he's just a devoted fellowship pastor. He leads the youth, and an overall great guy. We're happy to have him on here. And yes, sir, Mr. Burrell.
Mr. Burrell, what's up, man?
So,
Man, thank y'all so much for having me tonight. It's a pleasure. I'm really, really excited. Oh, thank you. I'm really, really excited just to kind of talk and chop it up with you guys, just really get into some things that we're trying to do here in the community. So I'm just excited to be a part and just here too.
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir. Glad to have you.
Yes, sir. Glad to have you. So, Mr. Burrell, like we said, we're glad to have you. But if you don't mind, just giving a brief introduction. Tell us about more about what you do and how you plan to help the youth or help the community.
And I want to know where you get your outfit from, man.
Yeah, I'll be
Oh
clean.
man, yeah, it is. So, one of the things I do is I'm actually in Utah now. I'm a director of recruiting for a college. I've been doing that for almost 10 years. I'm from Atlanta, born and raised. I actually received my GED, and through that, I really, really found that education was the only way I could make it. I tell people kind of what you guys talked about with solutions. I was getting a little in and out of jobs. I couldn't really get anything to muster up in and out of jail. And one of the jobs I had to do was like, hey man, how long you gonna keep playing around and not being a solution for your community?
Mhm.
So I want to do this. Well, what he did, he was like, man, you gotta get a degree. And a lot of times we look at when people say something we don't have, we look at it as them hating. But it really was him speaking into what I could be doing and doing better. So I went and got my associates, and went from that, got my bachelor's, then from that got my master's, and I decided that's what I wanted to do, was actually help educate my community, and also through preaching. I think one of the things is the black church and the community is so separated now because we care more about the nice stuff in church instead of actually building community. When even wonder why men don't come, well, it's because you don't attract them because you ain't talking about results. So you're talking about all this prayer, but there's no action and result driven behind it. So that's what I try to do in the community.
Got it.
I love that. Results. What part of Atlanta are you from?
South Side. So I grew up in Riverdale, Old National, that little whole area, the South Side of Atlanta. That's where I was born and raised. So over there.
So the Southside boys on the channel today. Yeah, all of us from the Southside. Everybody from the Southside.
Yeah, I don't know if you know. I don't know how much you know about us, but myself, Brandon, Lennox, we've been knowing each other for basically all our lives. Right? We grew up, went to the same school all our lives, and so that is kind of how we introduced. I mean, we met Dr. C amongst each other as well. So I'm excited for this combo because I think that we get to bring some perspectives from a different angle as far as what we do from a business standpoint, but also being able to share a commonality when it comes to where we're from. So let's represent. Let's represent. Now, when we think about, because I know we're gonna have somebody else on and you're gonna kind of bring another perspective as well. But man, like I was just sharing with you guys, I literally, I mean, just this morning, witnessed somebody get evicted, right? And so when we think about what's going on in our society today, there is a lot of, from when we talk about jobs, well, why is somebody getting evicted? Maybe because there aren't enough jobs. We talk about the education system. Mr. Burrell mentioned about education. I'm excited to hear his perspective on that, because when you think about education, nowadays, you don't hear things in the news about getting rid of the public school system, or you might hear things about banning certain books out of the system, or putting certain books in the system, right? And I feel like that matters, and I'm curious on what y'all got to say about that. But from a financial standpoint, man, like I use Kroger discount to get my gas, but even the discount went down. Like I can't even get the discount that I'm used to, because that's just what we've been seeing with inflation. You got taxes going up. It's so many different things that's going on, but that's what we're going to talk about today. And I want to, for one, just take you guys' opinion on, let's say, coming from our city, or where we at, what do y'all think has been most influential into getting us to where we at right now? Let's say, I think we can agree that Atlanta, we have a lot of success. Right? We had a lot of success, but what do y'all think has allowed us to get that success? Is it more of like an educational standpoint? Is it the politicians? Is it the leadership? Is it the community vibe? Like, I just want to kind of open it up with that. What y'all think about the Atlanta, or just Southside specifically?
I think you're right when you say, like, when you ended your question saying, is it the community vibe or the leadership, or I think being from Atlanta, we got like a lot of different people to look up to, good and bad. And I feel like just having that like freedom to be able to choose who you want to follow a lot is gotten us to where we at. Everybody kind of got their own little like stilo, I like to call it, or like how you move, or stuff that you do. We all kind of do it the same but in a different way. And so I feel like that's why we progressing the way we are, or degressing, but yeah, I think that's a big part of where we at today, the community leadership, people that we see every day that's successful, people that we see that's not successful, and like just being able to like steer through that, I think.
Yeah.
For me, I would definitely say community. As we all know, community is like everything. So when you don't have like a good community around you, or good people around you, it kind of separate. Well, it doesn't kind of separate. It does separate you. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants to go their own way. As Brandon said, you can look up to anybody that you see. So a lot of people are going just different ways, different lanes. So it's just a matter of not being congruent. You know what I mean? And
Mm.
it's how things go. I mean, people grow apart, but it's best that we try to find a way to become a community again. But how do we become a community? What's needed? That's a good question because that's to the solution. Like
Right.
what do we need to have a good community? What needs to happen? What needs to be in place? Who needs to be in place? You know what I'm saying? What can we do? I think that's a question for y'all. So
Yeah.
piggyback off that.
Ms. Burrell, we I think we lost you. Yeah. So if we let's go into one of our topics, right? Let's talk about education. All right, let's go with education, right? Brandon, like what when you hear education, like what comes to mind for you?
I would say just knowing what's going on, knowing our history, like just finding out what you need to know, like what Mr. Burrell said. He said he had got his GED, which means he had to take another chance at high school, and he realized after he got his GED just how important that high school education was. And I think a lot of people take that for granted, like even our younger siblings or like the younger generations, they don't take that high school education serious. It's not common no more to really want to ace out of high school, do real good and go straight to college and do your thing, because a lot of people thinking education is kind of drowned out, or like they like preaching false narratives or stuff that really didn't happen. So it's like we really don't know what's true. But I think once people realize just how important just having an education about something, like if it's history, finance, infrastructure, just anything, I just feel like we should just be educated in all aspects, and you want to hit every corner of just know the most that you can know about everything. I think that's what we should be leaning towards. And then like with the upcoming election coming up, go ahead and learn about that. Learn, the different parties, and learn what these people are saying that they're gonna do, because at the end of the day, it's gonna affect you, whether you realize it now or not. I mean, some of these laws is gonna get passed and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it goes really deep into just like like the laws is getting passed, and we don't really know what's happening. These people signing stuff on that's going to affect us in the future. So I feel like just knowing how that stuff works, you could better prepare yourself.
Brandon, I think we had talked about teachers, about how they are, they're going through different laws that's getting passed that's affecting them.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, like talk about that. Like what
yeah
regarding that.
Yeah, I know that. I was just reading the other day. I did some research about this, exactly what you just talked about, how teachers well, basically, look, the Washington Post, that's a big news website or whatever, newspaper. They basically stated that 25 states have passed 64 laws restricting what teachers can teach at school. That's just huge when you really think about it, because a majority of the American teachers are limited. I mean, they're limiting less political, social topics during their classroom time, and it's literally due to like parents complaining. But then another bigger part is the legislation that's been passed that we're talking about right now. It's kind of reshaped how educators are able to discuss like race and history, and even like gender, and stuff like that in the classroom. So it's like teachers, even if they want to tell them about it, tell the younger generation about it, it's like the law is they're gonna be, they're gonna get fired, or they're gonna get fined for trying to basically tell a young person the truth. And I just think that's wrong. So I would say people really need to just take heed into this legislation that's being passed, and understand what they're really trying to do to you and your people. That's what I said.
It's a fact.
I agree. What's your take, Lane? Anything on that?
Yeah, so I would say we're talking about education. So I would definitely say it kind of starts at the. So for me, very solution oriented, right? So the problem is that they're taking away what teachers can teach. Then you have to start teaching where. I would say at the house. You have to start learning at the house. That would be
Of course.
so begin learning at the house. Um, learning. Okay, so of course, high school education is important, right? But once you graduate, so while you're in high school, this is for the younger crowd. While you're in high school, of course, you need to be learning what all you need to learn to get out of high school. But once you get out of high school, you have to continue learning. You have to continue to learn different skill sets, different. You got to change your mindset because what you learn in school is not necessarily what's going to help you in the real world. So it's all about it goes back to community, man. Who you surround yourself with, who's teaching you what are you allowing to be implanted in your head, let you believe what you believe. Because I love this book, man. I just got done reading. It's called the Fifth Agreement. Reprogramming your mind, but it's also about symbols. So nobody told us the color. Who told us the color was green? Who told us the color green was green? They just said it was the color green, but in reality, it's just the symbol that we already have from what people have taught us. Or it's just like saying, who told us a tree was a tree? It was already implanted that a tree was a tree, but is it really a tree? You know what I mean? Like thinking like that. You know, you got to reprogram your mind a different way. I don't know if did that make sense to y'all?
Yeah, I mean, it came from something.
But what's the source? Somebody just said it. So you have to reprogram your mind. So I would just feel like it's just about who you surround yourself with, who you surround yourself around, and what you do to solve the problems that the people are putting in place or legislature putting in place.
Yeah. Is there anything we missed on the education piece? But we good because when I think about it, right, and Mr. Burrell, you could chime in as well, but from an education standpoint, let's say, for instance, we take it to the higher level, right? We know that there are certain laws, like Brandon mentioned, that's being passed that's limiting what is allowed, what's allowed in the school system. Now, if we know that, well, Lennox also mentioned, well, it need to start at home. How I look at it is that there has to be some sense of leadership, as in I'm going to take in control of what I know and what I think should be shared. Like, for instance, this weekend I was just in Invest Fest, right? And in Invest Fest, it's 10,000, 15,000 entrepreneurs, primarily Black entrepreneurs, and we're speaking with other educated individuals, and we're talking about financial literacy, we're talking about entrepreneurship, we're talking about building wealth. And when you go to those sessions, Lennox, we done been to Invest Fest before. When you sit in those sessions, it's a certain type of vibe of empowerment that you get. And I'm listening to 50 Cent, I'm listening to Steve Harvey, Stephen A. Smith, and I'm listening to them pour in to us about certain topics that are, that's going to help us evolve as a person. And I'm sitting there taking notes and I'm getting it all in. But I think the solution, we know that a lot of times we can't get it, or we can't depend solely on maybe the public education system, private education, whatever that looks like. Well, maybe we can go to outside sources that we can say, hey, I relate to this guy. I relate to Steve Art. I relate to Stephen A. Smith. Let me listen to what they got to say, right? And it might not be specifically them, but it might be other people that is in a lane that you're progressing in or that you want to be in. And you say, well, maybe they got a course, or maybe they got some type of things that they can share with me, or a book, right? We talk about books. You got to dive a little bit more in the Fifth Agreement. That sounds definitely interesting. But those are the things that I believe that we should go the direction we need to move along in regards to seeking out education from outside sources.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to what B is saying, though, what Brandon is saying about picking something to learn about. You have to pick something to learn about. You can't just be out here walking around clueless or thinking just what you learned in high school or what you see on Instagram and TikTok is just enough. So you got to learn. You got to pick an avenue. So whatever avenue you pick, then stick with it. That's another thing I learned too, as far as education wise. Once you pick one avenue, you have to stick with it for a long time, or not even a long time. until not even saying until it pops off, but until you master it. You know what I mean? You have to master one thing before you can jump into any other avenue. That's one thing I'm learning now. So picking up one skill, picking up one lane, and just going full all in.
Yeah, I think too. One of the most. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Cool. I think one of the most important things is how we educate, especially in our community and our people. For the longest, we've been, we were mad when they took prayer out of schools. But I'm like, if you pray at home, it don't matter what they do at that school. It's the same thing with education. If they're going to take it out, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this year, Clark Atlanta took in more applications than the University of Georgia. This year, Clark Atlanta took in more. Think about that. Took in more applications than the University of Georgia
Wow.
took in. So I think if we recirculate how we educate and recirculate our schooling system, we stop going around. Oh, we got to go to Gwinnett for the good school system. We got to move to McDonough, and we say, you know what? Let's build our community. We're seeing now that the effects of what they're trying to do is to nullify our education, make us seem illiterate, and not create us as educators and give us a seat at the table. And so too many times we allow them to destroy the seat at the table, and we keep trying to get them to give us a seat and just saying, instead of saying, hey, y'all can have that seat, we're gonna go ahead and do our own thing. Because that's what other communities do. It's the reason why you don't see Republicans or Democrats saying, well, what's the Asian agenda? Or what's the African agenda? What's the Polish agenda? They don't care your agenda. They have created a community in which I don't need either party to do anything for me because we're going to do it for ourselves. And one of the things I take from that, like when I look at movies and you see the culture, like in Rich Crazy Asians or in an Indian movie, and you see their culture, how strong it has. One of the things in the byproducts of slavery is we don't authentically know who our culture is. We don't know it. It was stripped from us. So now is the time where we can kind of take that back and say, you know what, y'all can have it. Let's educate, but not only educate. The second thing we have to do after we go ahead and reclaim our institutions, reclaim our communities, like us being from the South Side. So what if we say, hey, y'all, go ahead and move to Riverdale, go ahead and move to Highway 85, and we're going to make this school, and we're going to establish this school as the after-school program. And in the after-school program, we're going to teach you Black American history. We're going to teach you about reading. We're going to teach you this book that we've heard about. We're going to talk to y'all about Invest Fest. We're going to bring that to y'all, and you're going to sit here and you learn, because education is one thing, but if you know the game, it puts you in a whole different level, and we don't even know the game. And so that's the second thing. Thirdly, churches have to become the place of institutional learning again. In the 1920s, the YMCA literally but took the idea from churches, because churches, the mothers of the church and the deacons of the church, were actually doing after school programs and teaching and feeding students so that they could learn in the community. And that's what the church has to be about. It can't just be a country club on Sunday. Monday through Saturday, y'all doors need to be open and helping take what they take. So y'all go ahead and take it if you want to. And we're still going to win because we've infiltrated and built up a community where we're actually being advantageous and being effective and showing our kids what they need to do. This is my last thing. I'm doing a STEM program through my church. And I was telling them that I worked at Emory University Hospital. When I worked at Emory, kids from 8 years old were already coming to our STEM programs at Emory University Hospital. There weren't any Black kids there. So it's the reason why they think only entertainers, actors, and those kind of people ride Bentleys. When I was working at Emory, the doctors were riding the Bentleys and the Rolls Royces and all those things. But it's because they understood from 8 and 9, there's an opportunity in other avenues, and we have to teach those things. So that's my little 2 cents on the education piece.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, that was it right there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just some game.
That was good, because and also I'm glad you mentioned, because man, that was some very practical steps. And I was going to ask you, like, well, you painted a picture, but then you also shared about what you're actually doing. And I wanted you to share a little bit more about the NAACP. But I think you touched on it. I think you touched on what you're doing in the community, because I mean that's what we need. I mean, I don't know if there's anything else you want to add on to that, because when we speak about working with the working class, and we speak about financial literacy, and we talk about, you mentioned about the kids, Well, now they're looking up to certain influencers, certain celebrities, certain rappers, certain ball players, and that becomes a big influence in their mind. And actually, when it comes down to, all right, well, I go to college, or I go to school, or I go to college, I get out of school, and I have this tremendous amount of debt. Then I get out into a job that I really picked this career because I just wanted to pick something so I can go to college. Right? Now you in college, now you out of school, and now you're starting to have to pay these bills. You already in debt from student loans, and now you back in this cycle, right? And so what you mentioned, Mr. Burrell, about the influence on the kids is super, super important. So I know Lennox was going to speak about the jobs and what's going on there. But was there anything else we need to touch on from that standpoint of the influence before we get there?
Yeah, what you said is important. What all y'all are saying is really good. I think for me and what we do with the NAACP and even my church in Houston is we're trying to revitalize the idea and the identity of what we're here to do. Um, we have allowed college to weaponize us instead of us using college as a weapon. So I told y'all what I do is I'm a recruiter for a college, actually, and we're here at our conference now. So one of the things that we do is I teach kids, you don't just go to college to go to college. It's the biggest waste of money and it's the biggest scam that's ever taught. Hey, just go to college. Instead of saying, okay, this is the career I want. This is what I need. Because there's a lot of people who go to college who don't need to go.
I agree.
You hear what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who go to college who don't need to go. But also, check this out. 76% of millionaires have a bachelor's degree.
Mhm.
So the opposite side of that is this new idea, like you're talking about with these content creators who say, oh, you don't need college to be successful.
Mhm.
You don't, but because of our melanin, you do need to get that degree because it's still your step into the door. The thing is now, let's look at what you need to get a degree for,
Mhm.
right? So why aren't more of us becoming teachers? Why aren't more of us becoming professors? Why aren't more of us? Because see, the thing is, we think the athlete is good, but the agent makes just as much money
Oh man,
because he has 10, 15 athletes.
talk about it, man. Talk
I
about it.
tell my son every day he taught me about he want to be a football player. I said, man, have you thought about coaching and being an agent?
Oh man.
Your likelihood of, I know you want to go to the NFL and I want to see it,
Mhm.
but the likelihood of you becoming that is slimmer than the likelihood of you becoming a successful agent, a GM, a scouting. So we have to teach our young people, if you're going to go to school, use school as a tool.
Mhm.
Because our Caucasian brothers, they understand by high school, oh, I'm not going to be. Sean McVay was the top athlete in Georgia with Calvin Johnson. You know what I'm saying? He was Mr. Football with Calvin Johnson
Wow.
and knew after high school that he was not going to be an NFL player.
Wow. That's good.
You see what I'm saying? Like the mindset is different. Why aren't we going into for accounting?
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's great to know finances and know financial aid and know how to get the stocks and stuff like that, because that's something that I'm in now. But
Mhm.
how do I invest into property? How do I get the property? What do I need to do to strategically put myself in position to be successful? So yeah, that's a big thing, and that's what we do here at the NAACP. And then big with my churches, being able to teach these young people about careers that they want, that they'll be able to get into. And even maybe I start out my career at a job and then the job pays for my college. So there's all kind of opportunities that we don't talk to them about. So
Mhm.
yeah, I really think that's important.
I love it. I love it. So what I want to talk about is college. Man. So college is, to me, college is, I think it's okay to go, but it's all about what you do. You know what I'm saying? What you're going to college for. But if you're going to college to just go to college, then it's really, like Mr. Billingsley said, it's just a waste. Like you got to have a strategic plan. And that's what a lot of us don't have as, our community, we don't have. It's just like anything else. Go work, go get a job, go to college. Like Quez said, now you're in a whole bunch of debt. Now you get out of college. Now you either can't find a job or you get a job that's paying you lower than how much you pay for, lower than how much debt you got. So now you working backwards in a way. And it's just a cycle that's been repeated for so long, over and over and over. So I think it's about That's why you got to continue to learn after high school. Find that skill set. You might even have to take some time off, just to figure out what avenue you want to go in and just run with it all the way. And it might take you 2-3 years, but you won't be in it. I mean, you might get in some debt, personal debt or whatever, but you won't have no $60,000 debt or say $40,000-$50,000 debt versus
Mhm.
what I'm saying, taking one avenue and running all the way with it. And you could potentially be making more than people who's still in school or who got the degree. So it's just all about how you leverage what you got.
Yeah, leverage.
Leverage.
I like
Yeah.
that. I like that, and I wanna really highlight what Mr. Barrera just said about that 76% of millionaires got bachelor's degrees,
Good.
and then after that he said, but don't let that statistic fool you and think that all these millionaires got those, like they just knew that they was gonna get a bachelor's degree. No, they started working. They realized, oh, shit, I mean, it'll just make my life easier with this degree. And I feel like that's what a lot of young people not really seeing. Like all they hearing is college is a scam. It costs more than what you get paid, and yeah, those things is true. But if you navigate your plan to be able to work off of your education, and you're not really working. That's how I feel right now. Like I'm in college, I got a couple of loans. I know my loans is like building up. It's my last year, and I'm making moves right now to go ahead and be ready in 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Like after I graduate. So I feel like if you go into college just thinking, oh, I'm finna party, I'm finna go play football, I'm finna just live that college life, and you don't think about what you really paying for. I feel like a lot of people forget you paying for classes. You're not paying for these, to go out and make friends. You paying for these classes. You paying for this degree. So like focus in on that. Like that's what I feel like is a big point in that. Like that degree gonna take you a long way, but you need to focus on your plan with that degree. Like
Right.
make the most of it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? Price is only an issue in the absence of value, right? We think about school and we think about what we're going to do with school and going to school. I don't even know if y'all know, but yesterday President Biden, he had this deal, he's gonna forgive student loans, right? Plan to forgive student loans. Yesterday it got blocked, it got denied, right? And when we think of, and the reason why I say about the price standpoint is sometimes we have to create a chart and say what am I going to get out of this, and what do I expect to get out of it, right? I want to kind of line things up in a way to understand that, all right, I got to put in this amount of effort, I got to put in this amount of dollars, and then on the return side, this is what I'm going to receive. I think a lot of times, like me personally, I went to North Carolina A&T. I know we got some. I don't know if we got some HBCU people in the building, but when we think about when I was going to school, I made a decision on a few things, and I don't know if this was the right decision, but I knew that I wanted to go to a school that was nearby, out of state. I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU, and I knew I wanted to go to a business school. Now, I mean, as a recruiter, Mr. Burrell, like I don't know, like what would you say are the guidelines to be able to, if you could just say like two or three things that you say, okay, this is what you need to look out for before you make a decision of going to school, because on the back end it can either help you, or it can either harm you if you don't make that decision on the front end. What would you say to that?
So I would never get a degree in business administration. That's the first thing. I would never get a degree in that. I would get a degree in something specific. So if I get a business degree, it's going to be in entrepreneurship management, our
Good.
supply chain, project management, accounting. So now my business degree is business, but there's an emphasis, right? So I would never just get a general business degree. And a lot of people have already done that, so it's not a bad thing. But I also want to touch on this before I go back into that. You talked about the bill being blocked. This is my thing with this. What we have to understand with systematic oppression comes in different variables. The reason why they're saying no DEI is because they understand that if I take away the ability for them to get a position based on their credentials, and I lower the standard, then I can invite my boys back in. I can get them on
Right them back
because
in.
they have not been qualified lately. Because guess who's the most educated? And it's not just black women, as opposed to what people think. Black men and women are now some of the most intelligent and highly educated people in a demographic. Matter of fact, in Atlanta alone, Atlanta is one of the most educated cities in the country. So they understand that. That's the first thing. So they understand from a systematic perspective, if I go ahead and block your student loans because most of us have it, then you can't get housing. You cannot do anything. You can't make no movement because not only have I taken the ability for you to get a job, I've also eliminated the ability for you to set
Yeah,
debt so
yeah.
you can create wealth for your own generation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And your own family. So they know what they're doing. So that's the first thing. Secondly, when you talk about going to school, so I wouldn't necessarily do business unless I'm at a job. That's what I talked about first. If you get a job first, let's say you get a job at Home Depot, or you get a job at Walmart, you get a job at Walgreens, and they say, hey, you know what? We need you to get a degree. This is what you need to do. This is what I tell students. Look at the schools that they have affiliations with at that company, work a year or two, see what the affiliations they have with those schools, and get tuition reimbursement,
Mm.
even if it's just 80%. So there's nothing wrong with starting your career and not going to school first.
Right.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it, right? So also, secondly, go on Indeed, go on what's the other website?
LinkedIn.
Glassdoor, all LinkedIn, all those, and you go look at a career that you would like and look and see what the qualifications are for that career.
Yeah.
Get your degree in that. That's second. You should be doing that by your junior year, is what I tell young people. By
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
junior year, you need to be doing that. So that way you're taking the classes you need to take and you're applying to the type of colleges that fit your degree. Like you just said, I knew I wanted to go to HBCU. I knew I wanted to go to a school. North Carolina A&T has an amazing business and engineering program.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Valley State has an incredible engineering program. So there's schools that literally focus on what you're doing. North Carolina A&T is actually outpacing Morehouse for their engineering students and business students. But a lot of us don't even know that because we only see Morehouse and Hampton. But
Mm-hmm.
there are other HBCUs who are literally setting the standard for what it is to get that education that we need. And not only that, thirdly, you need to know what type of career you want to have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the career I want to have, what do I need to do? And so I tell students all the time, we're not going to just apply to schools that's going to get you a scholarship. Because you get a scholarship and that's not the field you want to be in, then we wasted your time.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
find a school that emphasizes on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
You need to find a school that's going to give you the tool. Because again, people don't realize college is only a tool.
Right.
Like when people are like, well, Mark Zuckerberg didn't go to college, Bill Gates. Well, they were at top colleges getting the information they needed, and they just so happened to be able to find something that was going to make them billionaires.
Right.
If they wasn't, they would have finished school. Now, if you got $1 billion idea or even $1 million idea, hey, more power to you. But
Mm-hmm.
unless you do have that, they even understood school is a tool to help get you to where you want to go. And it's going to always be that way, especially for us with melanin in our skin. So we have to
Yeah.
learn how to make school our thing, how to do it the right way. I tell people this all the time: go to the military, have them pay for it. Choose the branch. Like they make a lot of jokes about Walsh. Well, Walsh was smart. He said, "I'm gonna do National Guard so I can work. If some pop off, okay, maybe we'll, but I can still have them pay for my education. I can have them do that. So we have to look at the way that we go into education, and so that's what I do when I go to these high schools. I really, really am really big on that. And also another field that I'm trying to get more black men in is nursing.
Mm.
I have nurses once they get out of school, because the school I work with is a STEM type college. So
Mm-hmm.
we have nursing programs. I have students who, once they leave here, they get their nurse practitioner license, and these people are making 150, 200,000, and their colleges are paying for it. But men don't even think about being a nurse because it seems too feminine to them. And I realize that, man, you can be a male nurse, you're gonna get more opportunity because you can do more. You can be a nurse practitioner, but we don't even open our minds up to see these things, man. So those are the things I'm really, really trying to debunk a lot in our community. But it starts with helping the community realize how much of an advocate we as black men are for them, which is important.
Yeah. And is so big, and we say how much is an advocate that we are for us. Biggest thing that I learned in school was that we need exposure, right? We need a certain level of exposure. And for me personally, what I learned is that it's not so much about, of course, the education is super important. Everybody knows that. But the most important thing, I believe, that's more important than education that we need as a community is leadership, right? Because when I was in college, I went with the business, like I said, business degree. I went in, all right, let me go get my business degree. And as I'm in college, I decided, okay, let me start a business. So I'm trying to start a business. The next thing you know, I had a mentor, and my mentor, he totally, transcend the way that I saw money and wealth in general. He had entrepreneurs, his own entrepreneurial buddies, walk into us and share their stories. He was literally sponsoring Wednesday night dinners. We had to come in, we had to put on a suit like you, Mr. Burrell. I don't know if I was as sharp as you, but we had to put on a suit, and all of us had to sit down. We had to learn how to eat a salad with a salad fork. He taught us these different principles. And what the biggest thing I got out of that was leadership, was mentorship. And he started to share with me. He said, hey, his whole goal was to build young kings, and he got that from the Bible. And I'm like, okay, he's sharing this with me. And I started to pick up principles and patterns from what he was sharing with me. And I realized that every organization, every church, every business, every family, it has somebody at the top, right? It's either a king, it's a queen, it's both, but it's somebody at the top that has to make that final decision. Not make a choice, they had to make a decision. And that is what I believe that we need in our community is more leaders to be able to say, all right, I know that this is a problem. Am I going to be like Mr. Burrell? And I'm going to go out and I'm going to be put boots on the ground and actually go speak with young kids? Am I going to actually speak about these different things? It's another thing I want to mention too, but I want to hear from you guys as well. When we move into the aspect of financial literacy, we move about education on that standpoint. We talk about, well, the debt issue, right? Let me touch on that for a second. When we think about the debt issue, for one, our nation, we're in over 35 trillion dollars worth of debt.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the leadership that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
We're in $35 trillion worth of debt, and that meaning that, well, that's going to hurt Social Security, that's going to hurt Medicare, Medicaid, that's going to hurt the money they put into the different public things that are out here, like parks and things of that nature. So if we know that this is going on, well, what do we do from that, right? And we also know that that's going to make taxes go up, right? Yeah. And so all these different things that we are being faced with from a financial standpoint, what do y'all feel like, what level do you think needs to help attack the financial issue? Is it the politicians? Is it community leaders? Is it the individuals, right? Or is it the educators? Like what level do you think would be the best way? And even if we can just start here in Atlanta where we at, what level of leadership do you think needs to attack this first?
Well, that's a loaded question, man. I would definitely say it will start with I'm gonna have to go back to community.
Yeah, I agree.
But when you said politicians, I would say no. If you said politicians, what else?
He said individual,
community leaders.
Yes, definitely. So leaders, community leaders, definitely. So that would go back. That would relate to group, like a leader coming together to form groups of like-minded individuals. So it can be, you see a lot of technology groups now. Mm-hmm. So you see a lot of technology groups, you see a lot of business groups. So it's like small communities forming groups to where like-minded individuals can be together to share their struggles together and share their struggles and what they're having problems in, what they need to be successful or get to where they want to go. So I would think that would definitely be number one. for me, in my opinion, because that leads to mentorship, that leads to leadership, that leads to more connection, that leads to more opportunities. It's kind of like a trickle down effect once you have everybody that's in the same field or the same mindset to eventually, grow or change the trajectory of what's going on.
Feel you. I think I'm leaning towards the individual, but I like the community, um, like having community leaders. But I think it all boils down to you yourself as a person, what you doing to make your next day better, or to or better discipline yourself to make responsible decisions, or like I said, you could follow. You could have a good leader, you could have a bad leader. Like how you said, what's your leadership? What do you like? Not serving, but what are you doing every day to make yourself more successful? I feel like, or what are you putting at the top of your day? Like, what is your leader? What's leading you in a day? So I feel like us as individuals, we need to be able to recognize that and then be able to attack it. Like, if you know if you know you haven't been doing what you need to, then look at yourself, take responsibility, take accountability of what just what you put in your plate, putting on your plate.
That's
And
good.
then vice versa, if you're doing what you need to do, then keep doing it, and find a way to like revitalize it and expound on it, just making yourself a better person. I feel like that would get your community, people around you, your peers, get them either on board, or they gonna have to find another ship, and it's like, because like I feel like us three together, we riding on our ship, and we making ourselves better each and every day, every time we come back to talk or whatever, or have a conversation, we finding ways to make the last one better. And I think everybody need to have their little sets like that. And then that's just gonna build our community. Then when we all going towards one goal, and that's to be successful, get our debt down, not having to rely on like government and like politicians, all these crooked people out there that like kind of don't really have our best interests, but you got your best interests, your
Absolutely.
community that you've built together with other like-minded individuals, they got your best interests. So it's like, I feel like you should look towards that. I feel like that's the solution, really.
Yeah.
I got one that's gonna probably make y'all think a little different too. So B, you said don't depend on the government. Whereas I work with the government, like I'm a government contractor, right? But this is where
He like, don't cut out my job.
a lot of people don't understand this though. So when I say learning after high school or sticking to a field or sticking to one individual thing until you master it, and then you can branch out to other avenues. This is what I mean. So as a government contractor, right? The government has services that they need, and these services can do what? Supply jobs. So you can be a welder, you can be a electrician, you can be a construction worker, you can be a truck driver, you can be whatever, you can be a manufacturer.
Right.
The government has these needs, so my company solves these. The government has these problems, we solve these problems, but we also supply jobs to the community. So it's kind of like, even though the government doesn't have our best interests, we kind of still have an avenue to use them to create generational wealth, pay down this debt, have more opportunities. But a lot of people don't know that, because once they hear the word government, it's a oh no, like it's like a no. Because I was in the military, man. So when I first heard about it, I was trying to deal with no government. But now that I see the bigger picture, like I have a different mindset. Like, of course, my mindset had to shift. It's like, wow, like, I can really do this. I can really create generational wealth, also supply jobs to people who are having trouble finding jobs, but they also have to, as you mentioned, be doing the self work themselves. So you can't just be a regular out here and not have no skill set. You got to have some type of skill set for me to provide you with opportunity, or anybody should provide you with opportunity. So it's all about, it goes back to what you do, and leveraging the skill sets that you have, leveraging the community that you have to just, again, man, get where you want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with yourself, but you know, it's going to take somebody to uplift the community, right? You know,
Mhm.
as you take that leap of faith to uplift the community, man, we can do some magical things that will take Lennox to the next level, take Brandon to the next level, take Mr. Burrell to the next level, simply by whoever's listening, you as one person just making a decision to, you know, make the most of yourself today, right? So I think this is a great conversation. We was able to chop down a lot of different trees, but I think I don't know if y'all would agree, but we kind of came up to the ultimate conclusion, right? What would y'all say is the ultimate conclusion before we end it off? If it was like one thing we could say that we got out of this conversation, what would y'all think it is? I think Linda's kind of said it though already.
As far as
Unity.
Community,
yeah, okay, definitely.
community. I like it.
It's the bottom line.
It's the bottom line.
Where the pen at?
That's the
Yeah.
bottom line. You know, I wanna make a few announcements. So for one, the one and only, Miss Shenita Connolly is hosting an elegant evening of jazz. Right now, I don't know about y'all, but when I'm working, right, I'm sitting back, I'm listening to my jazz, I'm vibing out, and it keeps me calm, and I'm able to focus. And I think that being able to just really get a sense of uh, the rhythms that can move throughout you is a wonderful experience. And also being able to dress up, being around other people that enjoy that as well is something that you know you want to be a part of. So join Miss Shenita, Dr. C. Join her Sunday, October 6th at 5 p.m. Join her for an elegant evening of jazz. You know, she always have an amazing turnout. So you definitely want to be there early. I think the doors open at 4 o'clock. But also, I don't know if you guys got any announcements about what you guys have going on. I think for me personally, I'm just excited to continue to put out more content. So if you follow me on Instagram, Quez XB, definitely check out some content on Facebook. My name, Jaquez X Baldwin. Other than that, that's all I got. What about y'all?
I ain't really got nothing. I'm working hard. I know I haven't been on the podcast this last summer. That it wasn't just because nothing. You know, I was working hard. I had an internship, very successful. And I'm just trying to finish out this last year of school real strong. I got a couple interviews lined up in this weekend and next week. So just trying to keep my head on for that and get back in the flow with these classes. I got like 5 classes left and just finna knock them out, get a couple things done, you know. Yeah, I'm just still working hard, but yeah, that's all I want to leave with the people, let them know, you know, I'm doing good, still working hard. Also, almost forgot, I wanted to mention to everybody that's watching, you know, we talked about getting educated about, you know, just everything that's going on within the world, you know, world news and stuff. And just for anybody that's interested, you know, I recently just learned about actually President Trump and President Kamala Harris. They have agreed to a debate on September 10th in Philadelphia. So we'll be able to, you know, listen in on them. I know they say a lot of confusing stuff and it's kind of like a drag to really watch it, but they're going to say some stuff that, you know, is going to hit home for you. So I think if you want to stay educated, stay in the loop about the country and where we're kind of headed, I think this is a good opportunity for people to tune in and just better educate themselves, be ready for November 6th, I believe. That's when the election is. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Cool. For me, everybody, everything's going well, guys. Running my business, providing jobs for citizens, different businesses around the world. Just going to continue growing. A lot of long hours, but it's actually pretty fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's a grind. And we're going to keep going. No stopping. My message to everyone is just choose an avenue. Choose an avenue that you like, no matter how long it takes. Just continue to go at it every day. Give it your all, and eventually stop. Connect with like-minded individuals. Continue to collaborate with people that elevate you as well. And that's it for the Game Changers. We are out. Peace.
Peace.